What's going on, guys? So I know that we're getting pretty close to Halloween coming up here in the next couple of days, so I just wanted to put out this video real quick and give a couple of my own recommendations. These are 5 horror movies that I really love that you should check out. So the first movie that I want to talk about is Saw from 2004. This is the directorial debut of James Wan, who is famous for directing a couple of other big horror movie franchises such as The Conjuring and Insidious, as well as directing Aquaman for some reason. This movie tells the story of the Jigsaw Killer, a mysterious figure who kidnaps people and puts them in deadly games of survival where the participants must prove that they have the will to live even if it means shedding their own blood. The first movie focuses on Adam and Dr. Gordon, who wake up chained to a wall in a rundown abandoned bathroom where a mysterious voice tells them, "I want to play a game." Jigsaw pits the two men against each other, but they're going to have to learn to work together in order to survive. Now, the thing that actually really makes this movie work for me is, surprisingly enough, the pacing. The film has a way of slowly revealing new details about the characters that puts things into a different perspective. This non-linear storytelling is something that the Saw franchise would lean into very heavily in the next few films, but I personally think it starts to make the plot confusing and convoluted in the sequels. Another issue that I have with this movie, and actually with the Saw franchise in general, is honestly the poor acting. I'm guessing this is due to the franchise mostly consisting of low-budget movies with lesser-known actors. But yeah, there are some scenes in this movie that feel a little strange and some dialogue that feels a bit clunky. But while I'm not a big fan of the Saw franchise as a whole, I still think this was a really solid first film. The ending is awesome, and it's a movie that I try and catch every Halloween season. Now, the next movie that I want to talk about is actually a childhood favorite of mine, and that is Freddy vs. Jason. This movie came out in 2003, and of course stars the title characters of A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. This movie also marked Robert Englund's final appearance as Freddy Krueger. The big idea is that Springwood has forgotten all about Freddy Krueger, and he has no ability to infiltrate the town's dreams. But he is somehow able to bring Jason Voorhees back to life and releases him on the town of Springwood in hopes that they will remember him and start to dream again. I love that you don't need to watch any of the movies in either franchise to enjoy this one. The beginning does a good job of explaining everything to the viewer, and the story is very simple and straightforward. Now, the only thing that I can think to complain about with this one is that this movie isn't really scary per se. It's more of a what-if type of movie where 2 horror icons are pitted against each other, and the winner is whoever can stab the other one more. But overall, it doesn't take itself too seriously and is honestly just a really entertaining ride from start to finish. If you haven't checked this one out yet, you definitely should. And P.S. Freddy is way better than Jason. Sorry, not sorry. Now, the next movie I'm talking about might be just a little bit more complex, which is Stephen King's The Shining. I think that most people are pretty familiar with The Shining by now, as it's widely hailed as one of the best horror movies of all time. Directed by Stanley Kubrick in 1980, this movie is about a man named Jack Torrance who takes a temporary job as the caretaker of the secluded Overlook Hotel while it is closed during the winter months. One of the biggest things that I like about this movie is the ambiguity of the plot. As the characters spend more and more time inside the hotel, they start hallucinating and seeing things, and we have to wonder as the audience if the things that they're seeing are real or if it's just a result of them losing their grip on reality. But I think the thing that really makes this movie for me is the unsettling atmosphere. This is a movie primarily about isolation and feeling trapped with nowhere to go. Kubrick does a great job of creating this feeling with a mix of these long, empty shots of corridors and hallways, along with a really chilling and creepy score. It really kind of puts the viewer in the shoes of the characters, and we feel trapped along with Jack's family. But I don't want to give too much away. If you somehow have not seen The Shining yet, it is a fantastic movie. Now, circling back to monster movies, the next film that I want to talk about is It from 1990. I know a lot of people prefer the 2017 remake to the original from the 90s, but I actually prefer this one. This movie originally aired as a 2-part TV special, and with that, it's almost like kind of having 2 movies in one. The story is about a shape-shifting creature that is hunting and killing children in the small town of Derry, and a group of kids who pledge to fight back and kill it. The creature mostly takes the shape of a party clown named Pennywise, and can change into the shape of whatever the children fear most. The first movie takes place in the 1960s when the children first encounter the clown, and the second in the 1990s after the children have finally grown up. Out of all the movies on this list, I think that It is probably the heaviest in terms of the themes and what the movie tries to explore. This is ultimately a movie about childhood trauma and how the things that happen during childhood affect us as adults. Comparative to the remakes, I just think the 90s version does a lot better at exploring each of the characters' individual struggles during childhood and how they confront those things as they continue into adulthood. Now, the biggest drawback is that this movie is still technically a direct-to-TV miniseries, and so there are these weird transitions throughout the movie that really do make you feel like you're watching just a TV show. It's also rated for TV as well, and so any scenes of violence and killing is all done off screen, which is pretty disappointing. But overall, the story is great, the characters are interesting, which makes this just another Halloween classic for me. Now, for the last movie, we're going to circle back around to psychological horror movies with 2019's The Lighthouse. This is Robert Eggers' second film with A24 following 2015's The Witch, and it is also my favorite A24 horror movie. Here we see Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe as two lighthouse keepers who become trapped on a secluded island during a violent storm. As days turn into weeks, the two men begin to descend into insanity as their food and water run out and they need to find a way to survive until help arrives. Now, I like this one for a lot of the same reasons as The Shining. The characters are once again stuck in an isolated location where they start to hallucinate and see things, and we as the audience once again have to wonder if the things that they're seeing are real or all in their head. The story also has a really nice pace as well. As the plot moves forward, we start to learn about each man's past and why one of them maybe shouldn't be trusting the other. Also, I'm not really someone who cares a ton about fancy cinematography, but I love that they chose to shoot this movie in black and white and in 4:3. I think it really adds something to the feeling of like claustrophobia being confined into a small space. I really don't have any big complaints with this one. I think it's one of the harder movies to talk about in terms of themes, just because the events of the plot are so inconclusive and unexplained. But once you've seen the movie, you realize that this is entirely intentional. But that's pretty much it, guys. If you decide to check any of these movies out, or if you have seen any of them in the past, please leave a like and a comment just telling me your thoughts, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.